Good morning. Well, this is designed to be a morning practice, so hopefully it's a good morning. It's going to be a little bit shorter of a practice, and I want to emphasize that sometimes it's not really about the length of time that you practice for. Most of the time, it's not about the length of time that you practice for. It really matters how present you are as you practice, and that you do the right things to target the right areas so that your practice is specific to your very needs, which is part of a good yoga practice, is starting to unlayer your body and get to know your body so that you can build a better awareness of yourself and how to adapt according to your personal situation. So, on that note, I'm going to ask you to take a seat on a blanket or on a bolster or on a block, whatever is going to be most comfortable for you, something that'll prop the hips up, especially because it is morning. There's some tightness that happens in the side body if we're side sleepers, or if we sleep on our back, our hips can tighten up a little bit. So prop yourself up and give yourself some height. And I actually encourage you to do this in all starts to your practices and all finish to your practices. But morning time, I feel, is especially important. Just go ahead and rest the hands on the knees and close the eyes. And just start to build an awareness of your body. Now, when you're sitting up straight, what happens is that the shoulders drop back over the hips and the collarbones lift up a little bit towards the ceiling, making the chest broad. The bottom 6 ribs kind of fall down towards the belly button. So you have this nice long spine, but you're not exaggerating your posture either forwards or backwards. And then relax the glutes, letting the sit bones really settle into the surface that you're sitting on. And then let go of the hip flexors, because that's going to be the thing that kicks on when the glutes aren't kicked on. And then begin to observe the breath. Notice where it's moving to in the body. Whether it's long or short. Well-paced, or it feels a little choppy. And then try to smooth it out, lengthening the inhale and the exhale. Really feeling this balance start to come into play. And we'll take some movements with the arms to kind of get that balance going. So we're going to combine the physical with the breath. Releasing the arms down alongside the body. Just let the fingertips lightly touch the floor. Keep the eyes closed so that you can explore the movements through the shoulder and the chest as we go through this. And on an inhale, raise the arms out to the side and overhead, up towards the ceiling. They don't have to come all the way, palms touch. And when you exhale, you bring the palms to touch by bending the elbows and pulling the hands down to the center of the chest. There's a slight pause that'll happen after the exhale. Release the arms. And inhale, raise the arms again out to the side, overhead. Feel the way the rib cage opens up. Exhale, draw the palms to the midline, all the way down to the chest. Do 4 more like that. Really feeling the rotation of the shoulders as you inhale and raise the arms overhead. Keep the hands active, opening up through the arms, wakening up through the arms. And then palms come together and at the chest, and you feel a calm sensation when that happens. Energizing when we inhale and open up, and it's energizing because the lungs are filling. And exhale, the body's calming because we're releasing that energy. The palms come to the center of the chest. Good, 2 more. Make your movements last as long as your breath. And lengthen your breath to lengthen your movements. And then just pause, rest the hands on the knees. Let's rest the hands down alongside the hips. And you're going to walk the left hand a little bit further over. And you're going to be tipping to the left side so that there's some compression through the left waistline. And the idea is to open up through the right side body here. So before we raise this right arm, I'm going to ask you to press that right sit bone down into the floor. And when you do that, you should feel a little bit of engagement happen to solidify this right hip. And then once you have that solidification, you take the right arm along the ear. And you still stay active through the left arm. If you look at my left arm, I'm not slumping my shoulder up towards my ear. I'm really pushing down to keep the ear and the shoulder away from each other. Pressing the right hip down and pushing the right side of the rib cage over to the side to bend deeper into the left side body. And the chin stays in line with the sternum, so we're not dropping the ear towards the shoulder or lifting it up towards the upper arm. And then you come to focus on the breath, and you feel how each inhale really expands further through the rib cage and the waistline, all the way down into the pelvic floor and the belly, relaxing, fully relaxing there. And then the exhale recontracts, re-engages, and re-stabilizes you, oftentimes allowing you to go a little bit deeper over towards the side. And because it's morning time and we want to be gentle, on your next exhale, lower the right arm down alongside the body. And then slowly walk back up to center. And do so in a supported, slow manner so that this right side doesn't get a sudden amount of contraction. And then again, just rest the hands on the knees, pause, close the eyes. Notice how the right and the left side feel in comparison to each other. Oftentimes, if we're side sleepers, specifically, we dominate on one side. We dominate sleeping on one side. And that domination can lead to an imbalance in the hips. So one hip being higher than the other or rotated further forward than the other. So these side body stretches, also called lateral bends, are really important for opening up and rebalancing that, because it's going to balance out through the transverse abdominis, which I'll talk about in another segment probably, but a brief rundown is it's a corset-like muscle that wraps all the way around our waistline, and it connects in our bottom 6 ribs and at the top crest of our pelvis. Let's take the right hand down and just start to walk it over to the side and press that left hip down into the floor energetically so that you feel how solid it becomes. You feel this stabilizing point where then you can extend, once you have that stabilizing point, then you can extend the left arm along the ear. The chin stays in line with the sternum, and you start to press the ribs over to the left, really opening up the left side body, specifically at the base of the bottom 6 ribs, and compressing through the right side of the body. Don't drop too much into that right shoulder. Try to relax through the glutes. Remember the engagement of the core on the exhale, pulling in and down. And then slowly release the left arm on an exhale. And on an inhale, because the torso is filling up, you'll walk the right hand back in. Pause at center. Notice again the right and the left sides of the body and how they're going to feel. That might have made them feel balanced, or it might have exploited some imbalance, some more imbalance that's going on. Either way, it doesn't really matter. You just want to take inventory of this information that you get when you stretch. And then we're going to come into a forward fold. So keeping the legs crossed, you want to keep the hips connected to the mat, and you're just going to walk the arms forward. Bending from the hips. You can release the head fully. Actually, I'm going to scratch that. I'm going to say don't release the head. Instead, keep some extension through the spine, and the hands placed firm to the ground, either on fingertips or on palms, so that you can press the sit bones back down into the floor. And breathe. And you're finding a nice erect spine, nice length through the body. And and that stabilizes along the spine. And then on the exhale, you're going to round in and down. You can release the arms to the floor, the forehead to the floor, opening up between the shoulder blades and the back side of the body. And it's probably going to work a little bit more into one of the hips. And the hip that it's going to work into is the leg that's in front. Really feeling the breath and committing to the breath being in the back side of the body. And then on an inhale, slowly coming back up. And crossing the opposite leg in front. Take a moment, settle into the hips, and then start to walk the hands forward. And remember that you stay on palms or fingertips first to find the extension through the spine. And feel the pressure of the hips pressing into the floor. Keeping a posterior tip to the pelvis to find the extension through the spine, and the stabilization through the hips. And then on an exhale, let yourself come down. At the peak of the inhale, the abdomen is fully relaxed. So if the chin is dropped, you should be able to see the abdomen drop. And then when you exhale, you pull the belly in and up, which presses the sit bones back. And you start to visualize, well, not visualize, but get a visualization of what your belly is supposed to look like when you're breathing. Inhale through the chest, down into the belly, full relaxation, so it's not going to look sexy and attractive. And then on the exhale, you pull the belly in and down into the pelvic floor. And you can watch the belly come somewhat away from the thighs. Then slowly come back up on an inhale. Rest the palms again. Pause for a second. I watched a yoga video the other day that said morning flow practice. And it was a beautiful video, and the instructor was a beautiful woman. And she started off with handstand and then kicked off into arm balances and deep lunges. And she had her cup of coffee, and it was nice dawn lighting that was going on. And it's beautiful that she can do those things, but to climb out of bed and jump straight into such an intense practice of being on the arms or such deep poses isn't necessarily where most of our bodies are at. In fact, most of our bodies need some slow movement to understand, did we tweak something over the night, or how are we feeling from yesterday, or how are we feeling today? So this is why I really encourage a slow practice. We're going to transition onto our hands and our knees. And I'm going to grab a sip of my coffee. If you have coffee, go ahead and grab a sip of yours. And we're just going to come into a very gentle pigeon. So pigeon. We'll start off in a tabletop position. And we're going to pull the right knee forward to the back of the right wrist. And you want the leg to externally rotate. So with that external rotation, the right knee comes to the right edge of the mat, and then the right heel in front of the left hip. And you check in with that back leg to make sure that it extends straight out behind you. If I can move this puppy, we can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Come on, puppy. Go on, go on, go on. So the left leg extends straight out behind you. And then you can start to come down. Resting on forearms, or you can rest your forehead on a block, or you can rest the forehead on the block. But most importantly, you want to make sure that you keep the hips level with each other. So you're not really looking to fall off onto the right or to the left side. And if you feel yourself doing that, grab a block and place it underneath whichever hip you're tending to fall off to the side so that it's supportive of it. And then come back into that breath. Really breathing in and out of the body. Feeling the whole part, feeling all of the parts of the body. Noticing what the hips and the legs are doing and how they're responding. And then how the breath is responding to these movements. If it feels too deep, you bring the heel closer in towards the groin or the pubic bone. Or if you're starting to open up and you need some more depth, you can walk the heel a little bit further away from you, as if you're trying to take the shin parallel to the top edge of the mat, or the short edge of the mat. This stretch is going to target mainly in the right side of the hip, or the butt cheek, essentially. However, it is moving down the outer edge of the leg into the knee. If you have knee problems, I do not suggest doing this one. And there will be another video that tells you alternatives to pigeon that you can do for knee problems. It also is going to start to travel up and through the right side of the back, loosening up from about the mid-back, so the thoracic lumbar junction, all the way down. And then you'll inhale and you'll slowly come up and out. Transitioning back to that tabletop position. If you need to, you just make some moves through the hips, or you take child's pose. Your hip flexors are going to ask for different things, or your body's going to ask for different things, depending on how it's responding to that. Good. Now go ahead and pull the left knee forward to the outer edge of the mat, and then check back to make sure that that right leg is extended straight out behind you. Keep the hips square, make sure that the pelvis is even off of the ground. And then slowly come down. Resting the forehead on something. I hope you too have a puppy crawling all over you as you do your yoga. She just can't seem to help herself. Tune back into the breath, breathing in and out of the nose. Feel it in the back side of your body because that's where you're targeting the stretch. So you may as well connect to that side of the body as well. And there's really no better way to connect to the body than to feel the movement of the breath through it. And we get very focused on the front side, and what it feels like is the lungs expand and the belly releases. But we're not typically so in touch with as the shoulder blades expand and the mid-back puffs up and the low back gets a little bit of a stretch because the waistline becomes wider. And slowly come up. Place the block off to the side and transition back to a tabletop position and just take some movements. Whatever movements it is that your body needs. Once you've got those movements in tabletop position, you place the hands really firm to the floor and tuck the toes. And the rest are going to be further forward than the shoulders. So you're already prepping up for down dog. And you want to squeeze the arms in towards each other and then push the palms away from you. So you're really engaging through the inner edge of the arm and the top edge of the arm. And with the toes tucked, you're going to press into the hands and the feet to lift the hips, sending them up and back for downward facing dog. You're looking for a nice flat spine. So I always encourage people to keep the knees a little bit bent until they feel that nice flat spine, until they know that they can nail that nice flat spine, before they just focus on walking the heels down towards the floor. And then just begin to pedal out right and left sides. Notice how the breath has shifted and changed. Oh, thanks, Dad. Oh, yeah, thanks. I love rawhide mouth on my mouth. Balance out the feet and the knees. And then step the right foot forward. And you're going to adjust the back foot down for a warrior one position. And you're going to come up. Warrior one. So the right hip pulls back and the left hip pushes forward. So you have the hips squared towards the top short edge of the mat. Pull the right hip back, push the left hip forward, and strongly connect the left foot into the floor, especially specifically the outer edge of the left foot. And then let's interlace the fingers and take the hands to the back of the head and just drop the head back into the hands. The elbows will come forward a little bit to sink the armpits down and back, and the chest will open up, collarbones lifting. The inhale is full expansion of the torso. Everything becomes wider, more relaxed and broader. And on the exhale, you strongly engage the core, and you'll feel the back leg really root into the ground and shift the pelvis forward just a little bit as you narrow the waistline and the breath travels up and out of the body. That process continually repeats. Tipping the head up by the use of the hands. Release the arms. And step the feet together. Go on. Standing up straight. Arms down alongside the body, shoulders over the hips. Hips over the heels, knees unlocked. So get a little bit loose through the knees, through the legs. And then draw the ears back over the shoulders and the chin will parallel the floor. Feel the pressure of the feet into the ground. And then step the right foot back, left foot forward for warrior one. So a nice long stance. Right hip pushes forward, left hip pushes back. Now this is really important. I said a nice long stance, but I don't mean so long that this back hip really pulls back and it can't push forward. So if you can't get this back hip to square off, you need to shorten the stance until you can get it to square off. Because the purpose is to target through the top edge of the right hip and up into the psoas, strengthening the outer edge of the left hip. And if there's so much external rotation to that back hip, then you're not going to be able to get the stretch in a very functional manner. You'll still be able to get it, but it's going to be a little bit more complicated. Flex the left toes. Hands to the hips for a moment. Make sure that the hips are squared. Now, get your hands on your body and really feel it. Where are my hips? Where's the top crest of my hip? Where are my iliocrest bones? These sharp little hip bones in front. Are they pointing both forward? Or are they really pointing forward? Because I see people do this. They'll touch their hips. They'll touch their hands to their body. But they're not making any adjustments. It's like they're just going through the motions. So don't just go through the motions. Really commit. Then once you've committed, interlace the hands to the back of the head. And start to inhale, lift the chest up. Exhale, engage the core, let the head rest. Press the chest forward. So your practice becomes a pulsation. Inhale, full expansion through the abdomen, a little bit of relaxation with the rest of the pose. And then exhale, full commitment, pull the belly in and up, press firm into the back leg, sink deeper into the front leg and let the head rest. On an inhale, lift the head, release the arms, step the right foot forward, Excuse me, sweetie. Excuse me, sweetie. Have the feet hip bone width distance apart. Maybe even a little bit wider. Actually, you know what? Let's actually go a little bit wider. Feet will be kind of lined up with the outer edge of the hips, the widest part of the hips. And then to recompress through the hip flexors and the belly, just soften the knees and forward fold. Letting the head release and relax. You can interlace the arms and let the arms hang. Ouch. Feeling the backside of the body really elongate with each breath. And each exhale just allows you to get a little bit deeper into the forward fold. Bending the knees, releasing the arms, slowly squat down. And as you squat down, you're going to lift the heels and straighten the back. And you're balancing on the feet here, right? Or maybe you're not. Maybe the hands still need to be on the floor. Or maybe you need a block or a blanket underneath the heels. What that looks like with blocks is just a little extra support. And this is going to be if you have super tight hips. This support is really nice. Or if you have an injured ankle. Then just bringing the palms to the center of the chest. Closing the eyes. Could you please just sit right over here for a second? Stay. And you're feeling the back loosen up. The lumbar spine and the sacrum start to drop more and more down towards the blocks or towards the floor. And with the eyes closed and the palms at the center of the chest, you try to draw the thumbs in towards the sternum, which is going to push the knees out. And if you can allow that to happen, if you can release through the inner thighs, you'll find more opening through to the sacrum and the lumbar spine. Try not to clench the glutes. I think one of the most important things to do in the morning is really feel your body and feel your breath and know what tone you're setting for the day. Do you feel anxious, content, excited, happy, lazy, tired, energized? Being able to describe your state of being so that you can adjust and adapt from there. Go ahead and release the arms. Remove the blocks or the blankets out from under the heels. And then just take a seat. Sit propped up. Hands rest to the knees. Eyes closed, chins parallel to the ground. Take a moment to reflect on the time that you put in to take care of yourself. Whether it be 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, or whole days and weeks. Having that knowledge and that self-awareness those two things are the most powerful in improving the quality of life. It's once we have that knowledge, it's once we have that self-awareness that we then know how to act accordingly. Bring the palms to the center of the chest or the midline of the body. It can be as high or as low as you want it to be. Slacken the jaw. Take a few open mouth exhales. Open the eyes, get used to the light around you. And thanks for joining me today. Namaste. Have an awesome day.